You know, everybody's talking about Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech. When Trump finished the speech, she angrily tore it up and, you know, she looked disgusted the whole time. She looked like she was sitting on something uncomfortable the entire time. And then she tore it up and she told reporters, well, that was the politest thing I could do, making me wonder. But, you know, this is a good Trumpian move. This is a brilliant move. This is what everybody's talking about because people are dopey. You know, they get angry and then they start talking about the thing and they don't realize that's why she did it. She did it to take attention away from the fact that Trump was delivering this incredible victory speech, the speech while the Democrats were messing up their caucus in Iowa, while the impeachment thing was swirling down the drain. Trump didn't even mention He didn't even mention impeachment. He just made them look teeny tiny. But even though it was a good move for drawing attention away, what did it draw attention to? It drew attention to just how teensy tiny the Democrats have become. I'm tearing up your speech. I'm tearing it up. I'm going to tear it. I know it said that people were doing well, but I'm tearing it up. And meanwhile, Trump was actually delivering a true vision for the country. Let's start with the end of the speech where he talked about what this nation is. Let's talk about Gee, that's a long one. Let's just try cut 21.
This nation is our canvas, and this country is our masterpiece. We look at tomorrow and see unlimited frontiers just waiting to be explored. Our brightest discoveries are not yet known. Our most thrilling stories are not yet told. Our grandest journeys are not yet made. The American age, the American epic, the American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come.
Now, that was the end of the speech where he was giving you a vision of America, and this is where Pelosi, after he says that, well, he tears up the speech. I don't care if the best is yet to come. But you cannot miss the fact that he was delivering a vision of America, talking about all the great men and women who have made this country what it is, talking about Thomas Edison, talking about Martin Luther King, talking about all the people who made this country what it is because the country is in motion. The way the Democrats work is they remove the element of time, the dimension of time from everything they say. So any sin that was ever committed is still there, and they don't talk about the movement into our great idea, what Martin Luther King said, living out the meaning of our creed. And that was what Donald Trump was talking about. And when he talked about that, he never mentioned impeachment, and I thought that was brilliant. The New York Times, see, they're smart, the New York Times. They know what's going on. Their headline said, he never mentioned impeachment, but it was all about impeachment. He never mentioned it because it's teeny tiny little Democrats going, you called the Ukraine, it's like Gulliver in Lilliput, like they're throwing things at his ankles. There's a pebble on your ankle. I don't care if you fix the economy. I'm hitting you in the ankle with this pebble as hard as I can. It's like he just turned them into midgets.
How dare you?
He turned them into midgets. He didn't even mention it. And this vision of America as being in motion into the heart of its great idea, in living out the meaning of its creed, moving from the places where everybody was imperialist to where we're not imperialist, where everybody was racist to where we Americans are a multicultural, multi-ethnic country. All of that showing us that movement is still going on and he has become part of it. That's a rebuke to the New York Times and their 1619 project. That makes them look like, you used to hold slaves 200 years ago and we're going to hit you in the ankle. But that is a rebuke to Bernie Sanders and his everything is unfair and all these people are rich and I'm not. And he is, but you're not. The politics of envy. This is a rebuke to all the Democrat vision, the Democrat vision of this country as a bad, bad thing. And some of the Democrats are beginning to catch on. And we're going to talk about that, too, coming up, because that is an important aspect of what Trump was doing. So let's take a little bit and get into this. As I was watching this, because you know me, I'm always thinking about romantic poetry, I was thinking about a letter that John Keats, the great poet John Keats, wrote to his fellow great poet, who he didn't like very much, Percy Shelley. And he was criticizing some of Shelley's writing, and he told him to load every rift of your subject with ore. In other words, don't just say pretty things, don't just use rhetoric, don't just be flowery. every word should describe something, should be real. It's advice, I read that when I was a kid, and it's advice I've always followed in my writing. Make sure that you are just packed with action. Make sure you're describing something happening, something with meaning. Even your descriptions of things should have meaning. They should be packed with meaning. That's what Trump did. The first, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes of a very long speech was just all facts. So let's talk about that. Let's play cut number 3. This is just devastating to the Democrats.
Since my election, we have created 7 million new jobs, 5 million more than government experts projected during the previous administration. The unemployment rate is the lowest in over half a century. And very incredibly, the average unemployment rate under my administration is lower than any administration in the history of our country. If we hadn't reversed the failed economic policies of the previous administration, the world would not now be witnessing this great economic success. The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history. African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded.
That's the stuff. That's what Nancy Pelosi is tearing up. See, you can't make that speech until you've done that stuff. This is the thing. Before you go, one last thing. Hit the subscribe button so that you stay up to date on all our content.